All right, good afternoon. This is ALK once again. And I start out with my motto, time to change. Then I go into some of my policies I believe that will work better for this country as a whole. So we're going to get right into it. Like I say, I am trying to make a lot of video for people have something to look at if they decide to look at it. And we're gonna go with my first thing. My first most important thing is focus on the citizen. What that mean? Focus on the citizen. That mean that a lot of things got to change, not just this whole country, but a lot of policy got to change to support the Christian. I'm sort of paranoid right now because that picture is sideways. I've been in the army so long, and we do a lot of ceremony. It was had to be dressed right, dress, feel a little, yeah, but it'll be okay. So here we go. We're gonna get right into it. I'm just trying to be as natural I can be as common that I can be. I always tell people I'm not that super excited. I'm not trying to be a comedian, not trying to be a show, but I just tell you how I feel and put my ideal out there. So the number two that I deal with minimum wage, which I say I want to push minimum wage to $20. And in that process of doing that, I would like to start that not the year of, but the next year. For some of this, probably 6 months, that some of the business can adjust and set things according to that $20 raise, minimum wage. So next one is healthcare insurance. I believe that Obamacare helped a lot of people, but I think it should be adjust a little bit to benefit the citizen more. And you say what that look like. I give some of my view of the Obamacare, lowering medicine, taking some of the costs out of hospital visit, emergency room visit, not being overpaid for things that the hospital sell or pharmacy sell, in other words, try to cut that cost down. And you say, how you gonna cut that cost down? We have to make policies that for the whole nation, the whole United States, as all the states is together. My biggest focus is no, and I love this because when I deal with this, being in the army, I relate to things being in the army. When the commander make a policy, there's nothing or who under that person can change that policy. You can suggest something to that commander to change the policy, but you can never go against it because that's his order. Even though that he's not there, but when you read it and you know it, that's an order, so you have to follow it. So all states should follow the federal law first, and all the laws that states be trying to make, it should never try to undermine what the federal law is. In other words, because that's what we're dealing with now. Some of the states' attorney general is really undermining what the federal law say, especially the Constitution. I got a video on the Constitution that right there have to be adjust a little bit because we have got to a point that we got so many wrongfully educated person and feel that they can manipulate the Constitution, but we gonna have to look at that and try to adjust it. We're not trying to take no rights. I'm not trying to take rights from people, but we need to make it plainer that when these people try to take rights from the United States citizen, we are citizens of the United States. Everything in the Constitution should be ours. Should be something that we should be freely given unto us. So Next one is education. I'm very big on education. I think the education system need to change a whole lot, and I think that the quality of teach. I'm not talking about the teachers; they do a good job, but the quality of teaching, not necessarily you're teaching from the book that education, whoever make the book or publish the book, it's not that way of learning. Some kids learn different, and we have to find ways that all kids will be created equal. Meaning that that equal part mean that we're finding a way that they can learn, if it's physically or if it verbally, if it's by sight. But that's something other that we have to put into play. And also for education, I would put a cap on teacher pay. We cannot look at one state paying teacher one thing, but the other state paying teacher another way. So we need to look at that, and that should be straight around the board. And also with the teaching certificate, you should be able to teach in any state once you have a degree and you pass the me my honest opinion, once you pass college and you got a degree, you should be able to teach after you being vetted, that you ain't got no criminal record or anything like that. It's some guideline for being a teacher. You know, you might have a degree, but if you some type of felony, uh, in other words, child, anyway, accused of being a child sex offender, you know, you can't be no, teacher. It's some guidelines should also go with that, because it's very complicated when we very selected on the teacher who can teach and who can't. All right, let's go a little further. That's the build up. That's just a short version of my goal for education, and I don't believe that we should destroy education because we all need oversight, more oversight over the states, because certain states is just out so far out there. Sometimes you wonder if they're on the same planet. Let's go for lower food costs. I'm not going to too much stand on that. Lower food costs is really getting to the business and one taking them turds, just throw them turds away, put them in them seal box, and hopefully whoever created that, give it back to them, mail it back to them. I say, but just to think about that and just getting food costs down because we can. It's nothing stopping us after we take turrets off, and people say, "Well, it takes some time." No, it shouldn't take time because I mean, every business that have business that sell food products is if they've been in business more than 10, 15, 20 years, they should already have a super profit in their business. If not, they might have to look at their bookkeeper or the people that rented their business. So let's go a little further. And Social Security. My thing about Social Security, I want to vamp that a little better than what it is. I know we got two times that we can get Social Security. Why I do not know. I don't know why it's a point that if you draw Social Security early and then you cripple. And that's something that I just don't understand. I don't know what Congress is doing or how it could have that plan could have been fixed a long time ago, but they saw fit not to do it. I'm not speaking as Republican alone, a Democrat as well. That's something other that should have been changed. You know, because they changed it in this last bill, so we can change it. We can work at it to fix the better fit citizen. Now, I ain't got no date, no age group, but it's got to be something better than that 67. I will hint to that. It's better than that 67. And it's better that when you draw early. What is that? And I'm not gonna hop on that too much because what is that's just to cripple people. That's just crazy. And then it makes it so bad. Why are we having Social Security? Social Security for the benefit of person after they get a certain age that they want to retire. Enjoy your life a little more. You don't raise a family now. You and your spouse or you alone should be able to do a little more vacation. You know, buy things that you truly wanted. So with that early draw of they call it retirement, but I'd say it's something else. It ain't no early retirement, but it's a cripple. If you got hurt, you on crutches. That's what it is. You be on crutches for the rest of your life. But I want to change that. It's just one time you should get it. It ain't no early. It ain't no on time. It should that be that one age you get it. You know, and that should be it. You know, but let's go look for that. That's something that I want to just put before you all and about Social Security, and that too, and changes a little with how much is being put into Social Security. So let's go to the next one: voting rights. Voting rights it should be a freedom. It shouldn't be no handicap. And one thing that I'm surely looking at that we should not have to change our mount system. If you're not, you know, mindful that race changes in each state and each district, if you're not focused on that, you shouldn't be able to change the map just to fit to keep your party in the office, your party with more seat. You should have a strategy inviting more if you want to say the same race that you like, you should advertise it and try to convince people to live there. That's how it should be. Like I always say for Alabama got a high percentage of black voter, but they don't vote. Because how I know that, I say about one, I put it a little high, about two out of the five people when I run for governor, the short time I tried to run the 2 months, that it was just about two out of the five blacks I asked didn't vote. They said they ain't got no time to vote. I don't care about voting. And I tried to talk to them, but you don't try to push things, but in a kind of way I said you should vote because it's counting on some of the policies do change. But it just a high number of black people that doesn't vote in Alabama because I know how they feel like that they vote not going to count, but your vote count, and I know for sure your vote count because and I say this, it been a long time since a Ozo, I say, have a black male now. He won because the votes got out there and turn out. And I'm not knocking the white Democratic voter. I believe that they was supporting that. But when you get a group people out and they vote to their match, things change. And you have to make that them people, the person feel like they vote count. And most of the people in Alabama feel like they vote doesn't count. But it's shifting now because they believe that they vote count and it means something. And then most of probably help this is this present administration pull them on out. But any other time they didn't vote. But this present administration making black people come out and vote. And I'm not being racist or anything, but it just fights. It's something that I see personally. But that's how it is. But to go a little further, voting rights also, I want to put in place a voting ID. That'll cut everything out. You don't have to have your your birth certificate. You don't have to have your social security number. Everything gonna be on that ID. And that ID that flipping from one with two idea with the ID. So I'm just putting it out there. I got two idea for the ID that this is the only thing that you have to show when you're voting. And then we're going straight to the places that you vote. It should be but one place that people do vote within the county, depending on how big the county is, it should be in a certain place. So I'm gonna say because I know this, because now I like the little town that I live in. And I enjoy it because it's quiet. Now, if we have a voting place, other people should have a voting place that's available to them because I'm saying because we're a small town and sometimes the lines do get long, but it's less than I want to say less than 800 population, maybe between 8 and 9, I'll say. Because when I was running, it was like close to 800, 770, close to that. But it the lines at a certain point was long during the day, but it gradually started getting through it, and we had really you had one voting machine, but how the booths and stuff was set up, it was like maybe eight. So when you in there, you're not really in there alone. You just sit to the table, you put your out, send it to the machine, and you're out, and it constantly going. It's a constant flow, but the lines do get long. So I believe that that voting ID will solve every problem that we have now with voting, and country have to change a law that this we this is what we use. Every state have to use this. No state shouldn't have to have nothing else. Talking about no birth certificate, no social security card, no two form or address. It just especially Alabama. But I'm not going too much on Alabama. Alabama is a special place. It's a strain, but I love it. Home, home sweet home, Alabama. You know, the home of the beauty, beautiful. That's us, Alabama. Other than a good football team, we do have good people live here. Not everybody is racist, but we get along pretty good. I don't come in contact with at least they don't express it to me. I'm gonna say it like that. So when I meet people, I say, "Hey," if they speak or not. I don't judge them saying that they racist, but I just keep it moving. So next is uh yeah, every citizen of the United States should have the right to vote, even if you're a felony that have prior felony. I'm not talking about one that's in prison. That's the one that's out of prison, being released, should have the right to vote. Either regardless he being a felony, because if he there and he did all this time, that means that he's done his time, and that's it. And I want to enforce about the policy of when we do employment search or background search, there should be a limit because if a person have done a time, it shouldn't flash. And most people say, well, people should know that there was a felony, they was stealing, they have a misdemeanor, or no, they should basically go off the application. And two, I'm gonna work it if you don't slip my mind and that part on the application should never be there about are you a felony? It shouldn't be there because if you is out living in the society, you're safe because undoubtedly they let you go and you live in this society. It ain't no more that you gonna do if you had a job or not. You living, you're not in prison, you're not in jail, so it shouldn't be nothing in that on the application asking you are you a felony, a prior felony. It shouldn't be that. because that judgmental. If I'm looking at application, somebody show me on there was a felony, then on down there they say explain. And then if you explain what happened, you was you robbed or you did something, you stole or whatever. Me in my mind, I'm gonna be judgmental because I know information now that is punting in my mind. And most people say, "Well, I would do it with good judgment." No, you won't, because in the back of your mind, you always gonna think that that person is still. And as soon as something go missing and stuff go wrong, the first person to pop in your mind. But enough of that. So that's what I think about felony people that have went to prison, did their time, and coming out. Most of the time, we don't have something that they can be productive in, and that's why I would love to change the prison system. I would love to have a better system that I know people like saying, "Well, they in prison, they can do that," but it's got to be more constructed than give a person a computer saying, "Okay, pick a college that you can go to and you get a degree." What is the deal to get a degree that when you get it and you come out, the big stamp on your life is on the application, felony, or you proud felony, explain. So that's got to change. If we're gonna make person be successful in prison, we also got to make them be successful outside. So that sort of sum up what my idea of those 7 things that I would love to put into play in and being the president of the United States. It's very important that we take a moment to think. If we want change, we have to vote different. You know, yes, you don't see me in the public, but other than I run for governor of Alabama in 2022, I didn't run this time because my ideal it was just training ground for me just to get to this point here. And besides, I was just getting out of the army in 2021. So I didn't want to try. I did it 2022 did run, but I wanted to test the ground and see how it was, and I enjoyed it. So I'm taking it up on myself this time and run for president for a reason because it need to be changed. I'm not subject to big money because I'm the average person. I'm probably gonna be the most average person that's running for president this time. I ain't super PAC money. I ain't, you know, I ask for donation if they give it to me, but I'm not solely big on the citizen giving all their money and going in a time like that. But we still need donation. You know, more donation and more successes this country would be. But all of that's my super take on my policy, my thought process, my ideology. And let's go into something that is going on with the United States now. There are a lot of things, too big topic. I'm not going to talk about them long. I try to stay on about 30 minutes, then I jump off. But we I guess we'll call it a war. It's challenging, but then we'll talk a little about Epstein. Now I hope that Epstein, all that drama be gone if I do become president. I would love it for it to be gone. It's a shame that it been swept under the rug this long. And then what make it so strange, all that he's done, this is how we should look at it. And I'm not saying do it, and I wouldn't do it, but you have to think about it. Epstein with all his sex trafficking and all of that will happen, and then he got 1 year. Now all the other people related with sex trafficking, sexual assault, sexual harassment got about 45 years. So you have to ask yourself, what system of government that know this person was sex trafficking? And some people sitting in jail right now for sex trafficking for 10 and 20 years, meaning in prison. So the most important thing, why would he just in there for a year? Then now my next question, why he got killed? And we understand why he got killed because if he gave a bargain and when he got out and he gonna tell all, sooner or later he was gonna tell all because somebody that want him to stay alive. So with that all that said and done, you know, I just hope the victim get they the thing that justice that they should have long time ago. And then if I'm in there, they'll get their justice because we got to uncover all of this. We have to uncover everything. Everybody that was accused, everybody was thought they participated, have all of them come in under oath and give they spill December turn. They spill or give their testimony of why they were there and what they did and why they was accused. So that just me. I'm not going to go into the who did what. Everybody coming and testify. Everybody gonna be subpoenaed in court, and they're gonna give their testimony. They're gonna testify on an oath saying that they did this and that. But the thing about that, I'm not dealing with all this other stuff. You know, I'm taking it to some point. Everybody say, "Can you do it?" We can do anything it's possible after we look at this last president. Get 3 Supreme Court justices, sit on the bench, they listen to the case, and then they take it from there. That's all you got to do. And then you say, how you gonna get the Supreme Court? Well, the Supreme Court, you know, it's policy that you can do it. And you say, what policy is that? Because when you have 3 branches, somebody got to oversight them, which they do, but the same, and this what messes me up because I'll be looking and listening. The same people that vetted you are the same people that gave you the authority to be a judge in a sense, or voted you to be a judge. Them same people have the power to vote you out. So that's as simple as it is. You know, face the music. That's all you have to do. Face the music. You know, judge rightfully because the thing about judge what they have the information right there in front of them, and you don't really have to think about it because it's there. Because it's just simple. If everybody had the right to vote, it's just something simple. Everybody got the right to vote. If you show up and you're a citizen of the United States and you voted like 1, 2, 3 years in a row or all your life, and then all of a sudden this day something happened, and that's when we have a problem. It should never be a problem if you voted 20 years and voted all your life when you were that age to vote. So enough of that. But we have to do something. Now back to we looked at Epstein. We jumped off voting, but I said that about Epstein case. I'm not gonna waste my time trying to justify or figure out why these people that participated in Epstein little I guess we can call it a little support group because it was a support group for them. But maybe he was blackmailing, however. But in order to be blackmailed, you have to participate in something that somebody got information on you. So we cut that short. So next one is the war. I hope that I said in one video before he didn't stepped on and start talking in the Iran. As I hope this is just a bombing like the first bombing, and then they got out and they quit. But it's one thing that I didn't know. I didn't know Israel was participating in the targeting and the support. So that leaving now to look at Gaza. Now we got to find a way to pull out of what we're doing because Israel is not going to stop because they prove a point. Once a country prove their point, we have to look at that. Israel have a serious problem, scared tactic of mad. The most country that should be able to forgive anybody is Israel, I say. But we need to pull out as quick as we can. And we should never think about putting soldiers on the ground because Iran is more capable of doing damage to us more than we're capable of doing damage to them. Now, with that said, United States do have the most powerful, the best army that is in the world, and that's a fact. But with that being the most powerful army in the world, it takes us some time to adjust of how the enemy fight. And that's the best part about the United States. We're able to adjust. Now we might lose some people, but after a while we'll adjust we'll start assessing the risk assessment more than ever. And that's the thing about going to war. It always was a risk assessment. Regardless of what happened. This person just drove his vehicle in a ditch. That's a risk assessment that we look at saying, okay, this is what we got to do. We got to do some reconning, got more recon and what route we're going to take because that way was too dangerous for that type of vehicle. So it's thing that builds up to our success being the greatest army in the world. So I'd say hopefully they don't put soldiers on the ground. And most people say some of the soldiers, it's a difference between special ops team than soldiers. And most people like, ain't they a soldier? Yes, but it's a different. When you say soldiers, you looking at combat arm and support soldiers. When you look at special art, they small teams. It's a different between small team and you got a large organization on ground because easy picking. A small team can move, and the enemy probably never see them or never come in contact with 'em because they get enough information and 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 lays in targets. So most likely that they probably never be seen or be killed. But when you put a large organization together, one missile or one drone can hit anywhere, and likely they gonna hit somebody or kill somebody. So I just hope that this administration make up their mind, say, "Hey, Israel, we pulling this back. We're not doing this like we did Gaza. We got our target. We did what we're supposed to do, and that should be it." Because from experience and being in the military, anti-terrorist terrorism is a fact. If Trump didn't get the class, he didn't read the manual, we are so in dire trouble because it's hard to fight against a suicide bomber. It's hard to fight against pre-plotted bombs that will come to the United States. So now we got a high alert, which it should be already. Just saying, we should be in a high alert already, especially the military posts and bases should be on high alert. Going back to the checks points, really everybody should be doing checkpoints now and bringing out the dolls or you know. But and with saying that, we're in a in a we're in a state now that we can come back but we can never relax. In other words, we have to stay alert because where we at now, when I was looking at the report that they gave the son the position of the leader, and then they say a whole lot of stuff that they killed his dad. They killed. When we look at that, we got to think like, wow, we just got the same person in office. And then you can look at it and say maybe he's a person that can forgive and say, hey, we're gonna forget about it and we're gonna move on. It was something. I don't know if you had plan on killing him, but he's dead. But we can halt this and. But then you got to think about it. We know history. 10, 15 years now, 9/11, because they're very patient. They killed so many people for our like of relaxing. We do so much that we don't focus that these people is just waiting. These cells are just waiting in the United States, appointed already. So we have to be alert. We have to be diligent, looking. But without that, I just say either we pull out now, it's still not gonna make a difference. If we stay there, it will be worse. If we stay bombing that country longer than what we are now, it's gonna be worse. Sometimes things can heal, but it's easier to protect ourselves from terrorists than to go in Iran with troops on the ground and keeping bombing them. And then the other country, it's the same. The other country now will get involved because it wasn't coordinated. Just like when the plane got shot down by friendly forces or ally, because it was no coordination of nothing. Just it was just there, no plan. Because I feel for the other country because they are sure they knew that they're gonna start getting attacked by Iran because everybody knows it's a terrorist country. They knew it, so they don't want to be involving themselves, and I understand them that they don't want to be involved. And I tip my hat out to them because this is a war that shouldn't have took place. We should have kept with the plan and left it at that. Keep them, under watch that they don't build no nuclear bomb or whatever we're trying to prevent them from doing. But that's the fight. But then the most worst part, they start talking about Russia. Now we understand. We can just don't need guesswork or don't even say anything. If we don't sort of counteract Russia now, we already know that this administration is embedded very deeply, and that's the bad part. But all I said tonight, I just want to put all that out and just let everybody know, just stay safe. You see something dangerous, call it in or call 911. But do call 911 with this, expectations they gonna give the story to be true and not something false. Because sometimes, you do it can be a false alarm. Some people just look like they want to do something, but like I say, just stay focused. We got another loan. I said 2 years. We got 2 more years of trying to figure this out. And so hopefully we get the release and the Democrat win the seats. The Congress this fall. And I just hope everybody just get out and vote. Tell somebody to vote Your vote do count. And I'm gonna get off this. Hopefully, I see be on here next Monday. If not, I will come on during the week and talk about something that happened in the news or give my ideal. But like I say, just hold fast. Keep hope, and just like I say, just tell somebody to vote. Because if we want change, we got to vote change. We can't just keep voting the same old way. Like I tell everybody when I was running for governor, I said, you can be Republican. Ain't nobody asking you to change your vote or change your party. In other words, you can keep your party. But if you want change, sometimes you have to choose the candidate regardless of his party affiliation. So sometimes you have to choose the candidate. And then if you like, you can go the next election, choose your Republican Party if they see to be a better candidate. But you want to choose the right candidate versus the party affiliate because that's how where we at now. We knew when this past president won the first time were crazy, and then you took another risk. Uh, it just it just it just yeah, I can't even fathom on why, but we're gonna get through it. We'll got through a pandemic. We'll get through this as well. But like I always say, ALK out. Enjoy your tomorrow, and have a blessed one.